Hi, this is Danai, and in today's video I want to talk about how to stay motivated. Motivation and keeping motivation up is something that is obviously relevant to any performing artist, but it also is important in basically any part of life, whether it is eating healthy, exercising, anything work-related, working on a relationship, and it also is something that we probably all struggle with at times. So in this video, I want to share with you my tips and techniques and what I do to stay motivated, even when things get a little bit difficult and overwhelming. So the first thing that I do is to set my goal. Of course, it's important that this goal is something that you actually want to reach and that you are passionate about, and then plan in detail how you want to get there. So let's say, for example, as a pianist, your goal is to play Rachmaninoff's Third Piano Concerto. So in order to master this incredibly difficult piece, you should plan what you're going to do to reach that goal. For example, you could say you want to play the first movement by the end of the month slowly. Or you can say you want to play the first movement in tempo by the end of the next month. And then you want to learn the next two movements by that particular point in time. And just plan according to your schedule and your abilities exactly what you want to accomplish by what time, so that you have a map that you can follow along this journey. Very often it's all about just taking that first step and getting started. For example, getting up in the morning and sitting down at the piano and just starting your practice. Once you've started, the rest usually is going to come by itself. So my main tip for motivation actually is to find ways that work for you that will help you make that first step, sit down and begin. So how do you begin? What I like to do is to actually break down the goal into many little ones, because a big pile of work can be very intimidating and overwhelming. And let's say I'm trying to learn Rachmaninoff's Third Piano Concerto and I've never played that piece. If I sit at the piano and just think about that, I might not even start because it's so difficult. But if I break it down into many little goals and little piles of work, they suddenly feel very doable and easy. So for example, I could say today I want to learn the first 2 pages, and that seems very realistic and doable. So I'm going to get started in that way. My next tip is to actually make it fun. I personally believe that any task can be fun. It's only a matter of your attitude and your perspective. So the key is to find a perspective that works for you, that makes the task fun. So let's say you're going to the gym and you say, that's not fun, it hurts, my muscles ache and it's exhausting. But you can look at it from a different perspective. You can say it's going to make me healthier and fitter and feel better inside my body. And when you look at it like that, you might find the fun in it. And it's the same when you're practicing the piano. You can say, okay, this passage is really annoying and difficult, but if I keep practicing it, it's going to help me play the whole piece and reach my end goal, or it's going to be the foundation for me to create music and an interpretation on that piece. And having that kind of perspective and attitude, I find is really helpful, because our brain actually registers happiness and fun and works in a more efficient and effective way when we are having fun and when we associate positive thoughts with a certain task. So you're going to make bigger and faster progress if you're having fun, rather than if you're just annoyed and if you don't like what you're doing. My next tip is to try to be consistent. It's really important to just keep going regularly on a daily basis if you want to reach your goal, and also if you want to stay motivated. Because once you take a break, and I don't mean a 5-minute break while practicing, but an actual break, for example, not practicing for a week, when you are on that path of reaching your goal that you've set, it's much harder to get back into it rather than if you keep going regularly. So even if you're having a stressful day, or if you don't have that much time, just try to sit down and practice just for 10 minutes or half an hour or 1 hour, whatever it is you're doing. It's always better than doing nothing, because even those 10 or 20 minutes are going to give you a feeling of accomplishment and a sense of satisfaction. And in your mind, you're going to feel that you are one tiny step closer to your goal in comparison to if you do nothing. Now, I've talked a lot about breaking down the goal into little milestones so that you're not feeling too overwhelmed. But at the same time, I think it's also very important to remind yourself of the bigger picture. Especially when you're struggling sometimes, try to remember why you're actually doing this and try to really visualize yourself reaching that goal. So if we take our example of Rachmaninoff's Third Piano Concerto, really visualize yourself playing that amazingly difficult piece on stage with an amazing orchestra, and try to imagine what it's going to feel like when you play it, when you enjoy the music, when you finish, when you're taking your bow. Try to really visualize and feel that. And this also is going to give you a motivation and remind you why you are actually putting in all this work and effort, because this is going to be the end result, and it is something that is worth striving towards. My next tip is to try to not focus on what you cannot control. Very often our brain goes to that place where we think, what if that happens? What if that happens? And these are usually things that are outside of our reach and that we cannot influence anyway. So try not to focus on all these factors and just try to focus on what you can control. And that is your daily practice, your daily input, your daily effort. And when you focus on just that and get better at what you are doing regularly, usually the rest will just magically align and work out anyway. But if you just keep focusing on all the what ifs, probably you're going to start neglecting what you can actually do, and then the end result will never be reached. Another thing that you can do is to surround yourself with a positive and inspiring environment. So if you're learning Rachmaninoff's Third Piano Concerto, try to spend time with inspiring musicians, listen to recordings that inspire you, that give you great ideas, and be around people that encourage you and that make you feel like you can really reach that goal, and try to avoid people that are going to put you down or that make you doubt yourself, because that really is something that is not going to help you out. And also try to avoid people that distract you from reaching that goal. Another thing that you can do is to find a partner in crime. So say you're learning Rachmaninoff's Third Piano Concerto, you could try to do this together with a friend, and you can play for each other, see how far you've come, exchange tips. But even if you're doing it alone, you can tell your friends about it, tell your teacher about it, and play for them on a regular basis. Play for your teacher, show him or her your progress, and that way you're going to stay accountable. And being accountable to somebody, of course, also is an extra incentive for you to keep going and to ultimately reach your goal. And finally, reward yourself often for every little step that you accomplish. So even if during the day you've just accomplished something little like learning one page, take a little break, have a cup of coffee, have a cup of tea, and really be happy that you've reached that little milestone. And if you reach a bigger milestone, go for a walk, enjoy nature, go to the cinema with a friend, and really reward yourself for everything that you accomplish. Because it is important that you realize that you are making progress and that you are being successful in that path towards the end goal. In the end, when you've reached your goal, of course, it's going to be a huge accomplishment. But I think it's important to keep in mind that the path towards getting there was the most important bit and probably the biggest accomplishment. So when you are on that path, try to keep in mind that thought that the path is the most important bit, not the goal itself. And that thought is already very inspiring and motivating. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any other tips that you do to stay motivated, please let me know about them and leave them in the comments down below. And I hope to see you again soon. Bye!